Hey guys, what's poppin'? Okay, I'm sorry, I had to, but honestly, if there's one question that has been polarizing humanity for millennia, it's the question of sweet versus salty popcorn. And I have probably the right answer for you later in this video, but that's not really what this video is about. Because no matter which side you're on, a rich, buttery foundation, I think that's something we can all agree on. Can't we? And how to make the best, butteriest popcorn that will put any movie theater to shame using ingredients you and I can actually understand, that is what this video is about. But there's one more thing. There was no way I could write the intro to this episode without dropping the word movie theater. Movies and popcorn, they just go together. It's the law. But when you ask why, well, that's when things get interesting. Turns out, not only did movie theaters make popcorn big, but popcorn also made movie theaters big. Let me explain. Let me first take you to the origin of these steaming hot snacks, and that is Mesoamerica. This is where maize, which is what intellectuals call corn, is from and has been cultivated by humans for at least 10,000 years. Except that's not what it looked like back in the day. It was much closer to something like this little fella, and it took thousands of years of selecting and breeding by humans, which eventually resulted in larger cobs and more rows of kernels. And what about popping it? Well, evidence of popcorn can be dated back over 5,000 years thanks to carbon-dated husks and kernels found in caves, ancient Peruvian popcorn popper pots, and depictions of gods enjoying this ancient snack. Oh yeah, except popcorn wasn't actually eaten as a snack. Instead, it was pounded into a fine powder and mixed with water, sometimes seasoned with herbs and spices. When the first colonialists arrived, they mixed the ground popcorn with milk as a kind of early breakfast cereal. My point is, popping corn has been around for a long time because it's actually quite easy to achieve. We'll get to that. A few people did it here and there, but it wasn't this huge thing yet. So what I'm wondering is, how did it make the jump to becoming one of the legendary snacks of the 20th century? Well, enter Charles Cretors, candy shop owner and 19th century nerd. Unhappy with the peanut roaster he bought, he simply invented a better steam-powered one and was granted a patent for it in 1893. He noted that the machine could also be used for popping corn, but it wasn't until he actually hit the streets of Chicago with it that he realized popping corn was the real gold mine here. The Cretors company specialized in building popcorn vending machines, and from there it didn't take long at all until popcorn street vendors started appearing all over the US and the world. In my opinion, there are two main reasons for popcorn's rapid rise in popularity. Number one, it's good business. Corn has always been really cheap, and profit margins will only continue to grow if you turn a little bit of something into a lot of something for which you now had a machine. And number two, it basically advertises itself. With this new mobile machine, you didn't need a kitchen anymore. You could set up shop anywhere, and everyone within a 100-meter radius will smell buttery goodness and freshly popped corn, and you just have to make sure you can work fast enough. And so by the early 20th century, you could literally find popcorn stands anywhere except for, wait for it, movie theaters. That's right. You see, back then, movie theaters were trying to establish themselves as high-class establishments for the cultured and privileged. A room full of simps munching on popcorn was considered absolutely unthinkable. There's all that mess and the carpet cleaning, of course, but maybe even more importantly, there's gonna be a whole lot of noise, you know, from the backs and the popcorn itself, because don't forget, back in the day, movies actually used to be silent. And speaking of which, in the 20s, films started adding synchronized sound, which was a huge game changer. Now, all the people who couldn't read back in the day, like kids or the illiterate, didn't have to deal with title cards anymore, and movie audiences began growing like never before. By 1930, around 90 million tickets were sold every single week. And just as things were going so well, the Great Depression unfolded. With movie ticket prices being forced down, theaters closed down, and those that stayed open were barely getting by. And while everyone around